So here I am with neighborhood conflict. It's earlier in the day, and I'm raring to go. And, setting it up, looking a little carefully to try to figure out how to set up, because there is no good explanation of how to set up. I came up with a list of things that might be helpful, but I found at least one of them is sort of present. Not a section that creates a glossary, but at least one of the things that I was having trouble with isn't there, or isn't a problem in the sense that it's not in the rules. The perceptive attribute is the average of the NPC's opinion of the other kid and the other kid's prestige. So most of the decisions are made on this perceptive attribute, which means you'll have an overall prestige, which for the player character starts at 3 and the NPC's at 7, unless I'm misremembering. If I am, that's just terrible. That's what we're going to go with. Hey, the game master can make changes, right? Which means that, the overall good that the character's doing will influence strongly, actually. It's half the value of how every other kid looks at him. But also there's the personal side of it. How much do you care about this person at all? This is a nice little mechanism, actually, and I respect it, and I'm thinking about stealing it if I ever get around to designing my own game, which is that in addition to sort of that very transactional, I like you because you did things for me, there's also a overall view. I don't think I want to operate quite this simply, but something I'll have to think about, in terms of that. I have a game that's got some similarities to this, not in the neighborhood sense, but in terms of tracking relationships between people. And I think the one thing I didn't do was I didn't worry at all about how big a deal does it matter how much the world as a whole looks at you. Now, the place where I see it as different is some people are more transactional in their outlook, and that's where it adds kind of a complexity that I don't really know if it would be easy to implement. But this is actually giving me some kind of, impetus towards, and no, it won't look anything like this. It's got a map, among other things. Although a map stolen from Machiavelli right now. And cards that are stolen from Kingmaker, Middle Sea, and I don't know, something else. But anyway, it's just a prototype that's been around for like 20, probably close to 30, over 30 years. But it doesn't mean I can't steal some cool thoughts that I see elsewhere. Looking at the rules format, and I know I'm not jumping in yet. What this reminds me of most is another game that had a lot of influence on me in terms of the formatting of the rules, which is Popes and Princes. Now, this is more complete than Popes and Princes, I can tell. There don't seem to be things that are completely missing, huge sections of the rules that are missing, other than the expansion side of things, that goes with this. But those are accounted for in terms of, I understand where they would come into play. Let's see what else. So what I've got, and I think this is correct, is everybody's got 1 pip in areas that they were founders of. I've got opinions of all the NPCs, and I'm going to be using 3 NPCs and 4 player characters, tracked on your own sheet, and then your overall prestige also tracked on your own sheet. So right now, all the player characters are viewed at level 3 because the average of what the individual's opinion and the prestige comes out because they're both 3s, and the opinion that the NPCs have of each other is all 7, as well as their prestige, which makes things kind of easy. And the NPCs are going to kind of be able to do more, but they don't get to pick what they do. So You know, Jeff here might be watching TV all day. They're also more likely to be doing the social interactions. I feel like the social interactions may be a little too complicated. I thought maybe try to generalize the rule for that and pull it outside of each specific case, and then create the specifics as sort of subtasks of all of the different actions that are generally social in nature. I'm not sure how well that would work in the rule book, but that's one of the things I thought might be done. The money, one thing I thought might be interesting is an interesting point to bring up. This has the common 6-9 problem. No lines under either one. That's an interesting decision. Essentially what you have then is a shared pool of 6s and 9s because they're indistinguishable. But what it means is, because it's a shared pool, you can do with less total of that design, because you're less likely to run out of, you're less likely to be running out of 6s and 9s. And on the other hand, the one place where I see it as a problem is table gets bumped, you know, which way is it? I don't remember anymore, you know, which probably, yeah, that could be a big deal. It also, with players, you know, they tend to stack their money and stuff like that, and it ends up getting somewhat confused. So I may just say there are no 9s. There's no real reason that there would have to be, although they would be somewhat helpful. Or I could do kind of like a, call this a 10, the way I do, actually in my game, the way I track values, but also in Kremlin and Republic of Rome. Speaking of which, very soon, another Republic of Rome based game from Rick Helly coming up, which I'm on a kick where I'm willing to do, I'm both willing and getting offers to do reviews. So that's kind of cool. It's kind of helping pull me out of the playing too many video games and not doing what I want to. Also moving Gloomhaven downstairs. May mean that I get to play that a little bit more because it has been cold here. It's Thanksgiving. I've got the heat on. It's also only like 50 degrees out, so I don't really need it. Okay. And let's see what else we've got here. So the one thing I haven't resolved, first of all, I don't know what the subjective attribute is, but I think I'm going to take that as just straight opinion, and we'll worry about that where that comes in. The other thing that I'm not sure about is the age. And I'm going to follow this, but I do not know which household is the oldest and youngest. I'm going to say good old Jake Peterson is pretty young. I don't know how young, but he just looks it. He's got one little area with, he's got one little thing with only one little area. I think he's going to be one of the youngest people. So I'm going to make a list of the ages of people. Now, the other thing I don't know, kids choose the action in birth youngest to oldest, and I think I've got to fit the NPCs into there, right? Players are able to conduct any action. Some of this seems to indicate maybe the NPCs are done separately. I'm not going to do that. So I'm going to make a list of what I think the ages probably are. Yeah, and it's just really BS, but it'll be based on the rank order here. So let's take a look at the Lixtaris. Jeff is younger or older than Kent? I'm going to say Jeff is younger than Kent because they do say order, that would be what I'd take. And I'd say Jeff is probably about Jake's age. He only has one maximum area. So we'll try to figure out between them which one's the youngest. And then here we've got Greg, Mayumi, Chris, and Scotty, who has actually generated 2 neighborhoods as well, which, you know, he's going to be the oldest kid. He's the one who's probably making all this crap up for us. Or at least the first one. So I'll try to interleave them and figure that out, and I'll come back with that. What I may do is use little character counters to indicate the turn ordering. A couple more things I did. I assigned the house colors. This might be specified somewhere, but I did it based on the currency colors, which also might be specified somewhere, but I don't feel like digging through it's a short set of rules, but it's hard to find anything because it's just a set of, you know, single line notes basically on things that happen to fit together, it seems, but okay. So I tried to fit them to the color of the characters because that'll help me as a mnemonic at least. So Scotty's green, obviously. Mayumi, I still haven't figured out the aging. Mayumi is gray, and that matches a gray house. I don't have a green house, so I don't know how much those houses help. The only facet they have in the game seems to be that they count as they're the place where the character goes when he's grounded. Over here. And maybe people will take households or something in a real actual opposed play type situation rather than set up like this. I'm not sure. In which case the houses would serve a purpose, but then it would be hard to do a lookup. So it's easier to just have the households collected together, which is what the designer does in his videos as well. The orange, well, I don't have a good use for orange, honestly. It's kind of close to yellow. I would like to do that, but I think crappy little Peterson household, so small, deserves the lousiest of the houses. And the pink is closer to this, the yellow closer to this, so gray went with this. Although you could make an argument that these are closer, but this is the closer color. Yeah, none of the NPCs have a capability to create a currency, so this is kind of cool. All of the player characters have the case. These were chosen at random. I did not do this, and that makes something interesting because it means that the normal flocking to a currency that an NPC is going to do, that NPCs are going to flock to an NPC currency, that's not going to happen. So their acceptance of currencies is going to be based on the opinion that they have of the player characters. So it actually creates kind of an interesting dynamic where there aren't currencies that are just going to become valuable and that everybody wants to accept because an NPC is pushing them forward. Of course, these guys will be creating stocks, so we'll see how that works. Let me make the list of players in order and just try to guess that. And it won't be too bad. I mean, if you're supposed to do household order followed by age order, which is not what the rules say, but, you know, well, there's no distinguishment of which households you choose first either. So one way or another, you're going to have to make something up to resolve this. We have the strictness of the households, which presumably there should be a mnemonic on all the different neighborhoods, actually. I'm using a marker here. Blue for friendly, yellow for moderate, red for strict. Now, that leads to an interesting thing. Hey, look, the one young kid, and I've got my order here, which is also duplicated there. This is just next time I play or whatever. The one really young kid, his family's really strict. And that makes sense. You know, over here, they got 2. They can lose 1, you know, maybe. They're a little bit less. And then here, they just got hordes of kids. So, what, 4 kids or something? So, and that makes sense. Families like that usually, by the time they've popped out quite a few, they're kind of like, you know, we've had these fights before. We don't want to go through it again. Whereas the kid, of course, is, going to challenge everything no matter what. They don't have to, though, because the elder kids have already challenged the boundaries. But Sammy gets to stay up till 10. Sammy's 12. You're only 6. But... yeah. Okay. So we're going to start with the basic parental disaster roles. And what we really should have here is a number associated with that. But we don't have that. I'm not going to use the dice from the game, although probably would favor something else. So let's see. Potential disaster. Strict is... Okay. So friendly is only a 1, and then it goes from there. So let's start with the friendly. Doesn't really matter. They're okay. It would kind of suck to not be able to do anything on the first turn, although I don't know. Maybe others. So everybody gets by without, nobody's done anything bad. And the parents haven't started cleaning crap up yet. In which case we go to the kid actions, and we take our first choice, which is little Jake Peterson. Well, unfortunately, I have no idea what to do, but let's take a look at what his options are. Not a lot. He can create a currency, or he can create a stock. Those are the two that I see as important. These all require someone else to be nearby. He's not going to lounge, and traveling, he'd need to go somewhere. I'm going to mark whichever one I choose, so he can't choose that again. And as far as I'm concerned, the two choices are currency and stock. Let me look those up, read up about them a little bit, and try to figure out which one I want to do. Again, because of the way the rules are formatted, and because I don't have a chart to zone out on them, which would be the other way of doing this, I don't really have an idea of what to do. Obviously, he's not going to work, though. Well, it turns out I got the currency colors all wrong. I'm going to stick with the ones I have because I think they're going to be easier to retain as a mnemonic. But like Jake, instead of being yellow when he's... Okay, when he's got yellow counters, he uses black. Mayumi uses purple, which isn't too bad. Scotty uses green, which is what I have. But then Kent uses orange, and he doesn't look at all, which I guess is yellow, which doesn't look at all orange. Again, that's not going to make a difference. Now, when I look at the stock action, it looks like the only thing you can do is purchase stocks that already exists. So he can't do that. All these other actions don't have any effect except travel. So we're going to do the currency action, I guess. Now, there we go. This causes the kid to print 10 of their currency, which will be entered into the presidency. Move the currency down 1 space on the currency value chart. If the currency is at 0.001, the kid cannot use currency action. I don't know. I don't think I can use it. I think, as a matter of fact, these are all already at 001 with none of the currency in existence. Again, this is not how the designer was playing. He did a currency action which started the currencies, I believe, in his video, if I remember correctly. I mean, I looked at it last night, and that's not an easy way for me to absorb, and it's certainly not a definitive way to find things. But as it stands, I believe these currencies have to exist, even though there's no instances of them. He can't make currency. Well, how does he get the value of his currency up? I don't know. He's got to get people to accept it. So, in order to do the currency action, he is going to accept the currency in his town. And that raises the value. And in that case, he can ask other people to accept it. I believe the NPCs will have to be checked for this. So, no one wants it because none of them have an opinion of 7 or higher of his little idea. So He's got this. He will print 10 of his currency. What the hell are these numbers? Those are money, but I'm not sure how they represent money inside a given currency. And I'm not using any of these. What's up with that? I think I can use these. I mean, I'm using a couple there, but I think I can use those instead of the player's own counter for their overall reputation. I have no idea how to represent the currency, which currency it is, except by putting a little marker on top of it. And he's got, you know, 2 5s in that currency. Now, this is exactly where I had a problem, was if I do it this way, I am going to get confused as to 6s and 9s. So he's going to have 10 of that, and I'll put a little marker there. That's all I can do. Hey, we got through 1 player. No biggie. That's fine. Okay. You know what? I'm going to do it this way. So the next one we go to is GL, Jeff Luxtari, who is an NPC. NPCs run a little differently. We roll a die and see what he does. He does a purchase action. I don't think he can, but remember, some of these actions default and some of them let you re-roll and some of them don't. There's no general rule for this. This can only be done in the village the kid is located in with currency in the village. There is no currency. What happens if he doesn't? There doesn't seem to be any, hey, he does something else, so his turn is done. Okay, the next one is orange, which is GS. That's Greg Smith, another NPC. Let's see what he does. He will do a work action. That's cool, he can do that. If he's not president of any company, he is not. He will form a company, okay? We'll create company A, and we'll use his little letter for that to indicate that he has a share of company A. When forming a company, he gets a stock. That's what I marked. Work by the player will increase the stock. Now, here's where I am going to use the video. Work. Jeez. See, again, I think the designer, and maybe I'm going to reverse that decision. I think the designer basically did the work as well as creating the company. I don't think that's a good idea. I think creating the company will be his work action. When forming, they receive a stock. Work will increase the stock value. Okay, the stock value goes up to 1 in my book then. And when he works, it increased by the total number of areas. Ooh, maybe it'll go up to however many areas he has. Now, he would get to, he only has 1. He would get to count, because he's an NPC, all areas in the same household. A player character only gets to count all areas in the same neighborhood. Okay, so he did his action. I guess this is CS, another NPC. Hey, we've blown through all the NPCs. That's cool. 1, he also is going to work. This is Chris Smith. He has just 1 area. So he will start his company, B. And he's all set. And now, let's take a look at value, okay? These guys, by doing work actions, have each created for themselves 1 cent of value. Scotty, by creating the currency, which he, by printing it, he dropped the value of it, has generated for himself a 1/10 of a cent, right? This is, no, 1/100th of a cent by creating 10 of a currency that's worth 0.001 each. Yeah. Okay. And that was Chris. Now we go over to, in my poor eyes, Kent Luxtari, who's over here and is a player. And he has a number of things. Well, work seems to do very well. However, building first might be nice because he gets to improve what he does, what he gets off of that initial stock offer. So let's take a look at build. Because he has areas open. He rolls a 10-sided die. His success would be moderate. He would succeed on a 1 through 4 on a 10-sided die. So he has a 40% chance of improving things. I think he's going to go for that. He's going to go for a work action. It's not a guaranteed payoff like the stock action, but okay, so he succeeded in increasing the number of areas he controls in the town. That helps cement his chiefhood. And you know what? I forgot what I'm doing here. NPCs I don't have to worry about. And since they all went, we go here, and he did a build action. So his next action will, wow, he's got a lot of good stuff. My money's on him winning because he's got a lot of actions. At least, we'll see. Maybe some of the others do too, but Jake there doesn't. Okay. Mayumi, at least in terms of like just pure economic actions. Jake can steal things though, which is kind of cool. Mayumi is going to do what? I like build, and she's at a friendly household, so 1 through 6, she'll do that. Build seemed to work really nicely, and she gets to increase her thing. And then finally we go to Scotty, who has 2 areas, but he doesn't have the advantage that an NPC would have off of that. He's not particularly well liked, but he doesn't have people around, so talking to people doesn't really help him. So he too will do the build action. And he also succeeds. And let's put markers there so I remember. That gets us through 1 turn. Okay, so moved the date forward a turn. I'm ready to get rocking. One thing I want to mention, a couple of things I've seen with this designer. 1, the design itself to some extent. 2, a lack of discipline towards writing a good rule book. Although we don't know yet with that, but like I certainly would intend to try to write something more usable, but and the video that he presented as well, I feel a certain kinship with him in all of these things. You know, some of it, the design very much appeals to me in certain ways. The videos look like my sort of, let's just, you know, try to get to the point of playing the thing. His hand is even shakier than mine. He's not as used to using the camera, so there's these quick pans that I had early on when I didn't get enough rebuking for it yet. I still do them every now and then, but then with the rule book, I can really empathize with that. Well, I understand it, and I've put everything down, and I look it over, and it's fine. And this is really why a developer is necessary. I hope he gets one. Not me, man, not me. I don't have that kind of time. But yeah, someone, you know, I don't think I'd make a good developer, for example. So anyway, let's kick off and check the households, starting with the most lax, and they're fine. And working our way forward. That's a 10, not a 0, so that's definitely fine. But that's not. We got something that happened here at Ducktown. So, well, at the Peterson house. This could be very bad for little Jake. I'm going to just call him little Jake from now on. So next thing we do is see what the parents are doing. And they have grounded him. He's out of action for this month. He can do nothing and no kids can interact with him in any way. They can come in and screw with him, though, if they so desire. However, it takes a turn to move someplace, and he probably won't be, you know, out of control at that point. Why? Ah, yes, I'm accepting that currency, that's why. All right, and now we kick off the actions. And I hope Scotty got a turn. Looks like he did. This will be the last time I can be certain that that worked. And we go to Jake. Well, he doesn't get one, but that means he actually does not have this. Personal interpretation there. The way the rules are stated, he would still be prevented from doing another currency action, but I'm going to allow him to do one. It's not going to help him unless his price gets boosted, and I don't know why anybody would do that. Unless there's a deal that's come through. So now we're to GL. Should be Jeff over here. He is, or Greg, no. Who? Jeff. He should, well, let's see what he does. He does a 6. He's going to lounge. Well, that's great. Greg Smith. He also will lounge. This is the one disadvantage to being an NPC. For the first time I've seen, I don't know if this is a common thing, but NPC being used as kind of a reference to being a tool. Recruit. All right, that probably can't do anything, but let's see if that forces into something else, because again, this is the only thing. They can ask a kid to join the militia. It has to be in the same village. I have no means of distinguishing that someone is in a militia. I'll use a control marker on, I guess, the fighting value of the particular character to indicate that they're part of a militia. It looks to me like an NPC is not going to do anything for that. So that got us here. I don't know. I'm lost. Yeah, he did that. And now we're over here. He can't build. He could work. That would release some stocks. He could release a currency, or he could buy stock, but he has no money. I think work sounds like a good thing to do. Again, not sure what I'm aiming for here, but, and that gets us to, he'll be raising his stock value by 2. But it has no value right now. So again, in contrast to how the designer actually sees it, I'm going to drop it. I'm going to shift it up to a 2 value, just because this doesn't go up very high. That's really the driving factor for me. I don't think it hurts balance or anything to do something like that. Okay, and that puts us to Mayumi, who also thinks work sounds like a good idea, except, yep, she's got 2. So she also will be releasing a stock up to 2. Now, if there can only be 5 companies, it's important that we get these out because almost everyone, except for Jake, has the work attribute. So maybe Company Z has to be in this game as well. I have the card for it. They say A through Z. Because I'm seeing work, 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 work. That 6 of the characters have a work capability. If there's only 5 companies, I don't think that's right. So I'm gonna throw that company Z in. Those other things on there aren't there. Or maybe somebody gets screwed and they can't have a stock. I don't know. But it does say they start one if they don't have a presidency. Don't know what happens. You know, there may actually have to be a limit. So maybe I'll just go through with the A through E. I think that makes sense. I think. You know why? Because somebody could be president of multiple companies. They could take somebody else's starting company over. Work only starts you a company if you have too many. So where are we? We just did her. And now we're at Scotty Smith, who also will do that and grab shares of the final company. And that runs us through the sequence, and I need to swap batteries. As we start the next turn, we have another parental event happening here, so let's check to see what happens. Okay, a parent is cleaning up or reorganizing and destroys an area. If there's more than one village, we have to randomize. There's 2 villages. It's going to be this village. Both the places are owned by the same kid. So the area is decreased. Now, destruction of an area, does that do anything? I don't think it affects stock value or anything like that. So there we go. Let's make a quick check on Jake. Jake is fine. And how does he return is the one thing I wanted to look up. At the start of the next turn, they can choose which village to start. Before making their move, they still must pay rent. Well, I don't have to pay rent because I have an area there. And I think we'll continue to go into some detail on this video. Later videos, I'm going to pull back from things until interesting stuff happens, because the mechanisms are, you know, pretty clear cut. What we haven't seen is influencing of the NPCs yet. And I'm kind of waiting for them to start influencing each other. So, can't do another currency action. I could do a stock action, except the cheapest stock is a penny. And I only have 1/10 of a cent in value. Can't do anything of value there. Well, I don't know. If I steal, I can't do that right now, but I'm looking at moving. I can only go to villages in my own household because I had been grounded, so I'm going to have to do a travel this time. If I steal, it has to be in the village, and I get currency. Nobody else has any currency, so that's not useful. I don't want to go near somebody who might steal. However, I seem to be the only thief. Yeah, the little kid can always get away with that kind of crap, right? Oh no, yeah. Okay. So then, I mean, what I really want is people to take my currency into play, but no one sees any particular reason to do so unless there's some reciprocating action, which might be give me some of your money, but that doesn't really help. And even if somebody else accepts it and the value goes up, they still only have enough to buy 1 share of somebody's stock. And I can't have stock. I don't have my own company. So what does attack do? I can get prestige for beating people up. Okay. I think what I want to do is, I guess, one of my NPC actions. So let's look for the NPCs. We'll see if this works. Chris Smith is good at fighting. Let's go find him and go try to talk to him. So, I think this is him. Unfortunately, I have to pay rent if I go there. They don't accept currency. I can't go there, I don't think. Let's find the rent rolls. Yeah, you kind of don't want to go anywhere. Ooh. Rent must be paid. It has an area and accepts a currency. So yeah, you don't accept my currency. I don't need to pay rent. I'll go visit Chris. And maybe I can do something of interest there. Not steal, because Chris doesn't have any money. Okay. And now we're on the NPCs. Jeff. Jeff is going to travel. Well, that's interesting. Where's he going? So, a 10-sided die if they're at a household with more than one village, even if they'll rent. Next, they roll again for each other household in the game. If even, he stays in his household. Okay. And I got to use a 10-sider. Can't use a 6-sider for this. I don't know why. Okay, so he's going to stay in the same household, which means he goes here. There's no rent to pay, so he's allowed to do that. What does it do? I don't know. And Scotty did a travel. He can't do that again. We go to Greg. What's he doing? These Smith kids, there's so many of them, man. He's going to piss his time away. And the final one is Chris. Who's going to attack? Uh-oh. If there's a kid in the household, he will attack. When the NPC attacks, they must choose to attack the kid they have the lowest perceptive. Well, we know who that is. After the sides are determined, the defender's option. Each kid rolls a 10-sided die. If the number is equal to or lower than their fighting ability, they get a hit. The side with the most hits wins. Okay. Well, Chris is good at fighting. And he hits. Jake, not so good. But he hits as well. We had a tie. What does that mean? No further changes are made. So the attack is done. However, the commander of the winning side can choose to take one. Yeah, okay. Yep, nothing happens. And that was Chris. Okay, and now we're over to Kent. Kent is, I don't know. Hey, crap me. Something increases your overall perception, the overall value, and I have not been paying attention to that. Is it work? Again, a play aid that shows changes from all the actions could be helpful here. Yeah, I don't know what increases. Is it build? Like I said, something increases your overall prestige. And I don't fucking remember what it is. And I gotta hunt for that. All right, I'm gonna have to, maybe it's fighting. Fighting increases prestige. I think that may be the only thing, but I don't remember. I thought building stuff did somehow. All right, I'm going to have to take a break and look through the rolls again. This is a pain in the ass with this kind of thing. You wish that there was a quick little thing. Hey, here's what affects this. It could all be done on one sheet, I think. I don't know, and I've passed through it. If something comes up and I see it, it happens. If it doesn't, everybody's prestige just stays the same forever until I notice something. Like, I mean, I don't know how much attacking is going to happen in this. So where the fuck am I? So what can he do? Well, he lost an area. He will build again. However, building isn't automatic. They are an average house. What does that mean? I don't know. They need to roll low. I don't know. That is strict moderate 1 to 4. Again, stuff that belongs on a player aid. Unfortunately, most of the rules are of the nature of trying to see a player aid. And I do not see anything about prestige here in building. So, he would like to get a currency going, or else accept Scotty's currency, but it's kind of too late. There's a good reason to accept currency because then people have to pay you rent. But if nobody has any money, screw that, man. It's not really useful. And as long as nobody's using his money and nobody else is creating money, we don't see any real reason. Okay, for her, well, she too will attempt to build. She's good at building. I hope. Basically, I have to keep attention to, hey, you know, are you over your limit of what you can put somewhere? And she fails. And then finally Scotty, who also is going to be good at building, so he will continue to build up his place, and he does. And if I recall correctly, that does not affect the stock values or anything like that. Just directly. Work is what does it. We're done with another turn. Jake got grounded again. It really sucks to be him. I'm not sure I see what he can do. He seems like the shittiest towards building anything up, but we'll see if he has other advantages with all those kind of interpersonal skills that he has. Like stealing. Okay, so he can't interact, and I think that means nobody can take his currency either. But I'm not sure. All right. That brings us to our NPCs. Let's watch these one more time. A lounge action. Lounge action. Pretty much not getting anything back. A stock action by Chris Smith. Chris does a stock action. What the fuck does that mean? He's allowed to purchase stock that he can afford in any currency type. He doesn't have any. He will try to sell stock he owns, starting with the most volatile process. Okay, well, he's going to try to sell his own stock for a penny, but it can't go down. I don't think he can do it. I think he's just fucked. He can only find somebody who's willing to sell it if it's under the current price and they can afford it. Nobody... Wait, what? Presidents can only sell their shares if they find another kid who will purchase them. Yeah, I don't think there's enough currency for the stocks to do anything. People have issued stocks, but there's no currency being accepted anywhere. So, whatever. And these guys have no desire to accept currency because the NPC currencies don't exist. Or there are no NPC currencies. So, yeah, he's pretty much screwed. Not having... The initial layout of all the currencies in players' hands, I think, has had a big effect. Well, we'll keep working, because that increases my stock value. Or do we want to release a currency now? Nope. Keep working. Oh, that increases my stock value by 2. Hey, I'm winning. You know, what the hell? Work does not require any die roll, I think. It just happens. Which way are we going? That's it. I guess we started going in this direction now. She could do the same thing. She could increase her stock value by 3, right? No, 2. Yeah, let's keep up. Keep up with the Luxtaris. And finally, Scotty. Scotty also is in that position. What the hell? Why do something different when maybe I can't keep up with everyone? All right. Push this here. One more turn on this video. After Jake went back here, 2 of the NPCs tried to do something. Greg, I believe, increased by working. And Chris tried to build, but he failed, which isn't an easy thing to do over in that household. It's usually easy to get away with stuff, but yeah, whatever. And we come over here. What do we want to do? Do we want to just keep building? We can get that up as high as a 4. We cannot release a currency unless we accept a currency. Does that seem valuable? No, let's keep increasing what we can do. We're not as good as building as these guys are. A 4, God knows. This is the problem. You gotta look everything up on the die rolls. All of this should be on the household cards, this information. There's no reason this detail can't be in that space. It wouldn't cost any more to print some more text on there. He is not an NPC, so I'm looking in the wrong place. He wants to roll. Wow, I bet you I've been looking on this for all these build actions because it's the numbers and they attract my attention, as in, hey, there's a chart, there's information there. Yeah, I don't think he succeeds. So I've been being overly successful with building, I'm guessing. That's okay. Because he only succeeds on a 1 or 2. I think, you know, again, my eyes run to this, but that's NPCs can roll twice as much, so I have to have what's there. Because there's no numbers, you know, it tells you something else. Based on the parental disasters. What the fuck? Just put those numbers in the roll book so that my eye is attracted to them. But, again, that should be in the locations. Right, so he is done. Naomi, same thing. What the hell? I got the advantage here, so I need a 3, I guess. Nope. And wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Are these wrong? Am I doing these in the wrong fucking action, wrong fucking order? Let's see. If there is still at least a roll, the success should be the same as those used for parental disaster based on household strictness. Twice as high for success. Okay, so this is kind of weird. I'm reading these. That's why, because I'm reading these in the wrong order. You know, I'm like, oh, you need to roll a 3 or higher to avoid it. And here it's, you need a 1 through 3. But that's okay. We got it fine. I don't know, and that's probably not even making sense. But what I'm saying is, because the parental strictness is done in the reverse of how I think, it actually does work with the rolls. It's just really disturbing to me. Well, again, we're the most likely to succeed in building. Let's keep trying to do so. Assuming, yeah, he's got plenty of buildings he can build. What I was thinking there was, assuming that I haven't run out of buildings. Again, these numbers don't jump out at you with like how many maximum areas you have. Yeah, it's one of the few values on here, but it should be, I don't know. Maybe it should be bolded out in one of these. I'm not sure how much that would confuse things. That might be a symbol too far. But it doesn't jump out at you as a valuable thing. So for example, the founder of the place, that's only important right at the setup. The household that it is, again, if you set your households up like this, it's not important other than setup. Maximum number of areas is the one piece of information you need to draw from this regularly. Ideally, these numbers would not go higher than the maximum number of areas. Again, a design decision that helps promote confusion. You could, sticker these and make different types of places though, if you wanted to, and those extra numbers wouldn't be a problem. Of course, you could make extra little play aids pretty easily in extra little locations and modify this game quite a bit. We've gone through everyone, and I think we've gone far enough for the detailed first video. From now on, I hope I will not be stepping into this much detail, except in places where new stuff is happening or really exciting old stuff. Of course, I'll probably screw things up. While I screw things up on these detailed videos, it's easier to catch me, but I don't think there's too much importance to that. This, like games like Crusoe's Planet, comes to mind for that, where again there's sort of this economic system that has a looseness to it but kind of a weirdness to it that takes more getting used to than, I don't know, something that's familiar, right? Like 18xx or Monopoly or something like that. Those probably were hard to get a grasp of early on. Not so much the 18xx, that seemed pretty clear to me. Monopoly, who knows? I still haven't figured out Monopoly's economic system. It's crazy, so it doesn't really represent anything. Pastime, you get money. It's like a job, right? Yeah, okay. Okay, and I'll send this one up, and then we'll kick to another video at some point soon.